This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
All right, hope you're ready for everything and anything related to Georgia ag. After all, that's what we do here at the Farm Monitor. As you can see, Kenny is off this week. Nonetheless, still got a good show planned for you. Coming up, located near the heart of downtown Atlanta, this farmer's market was voted one of the best by a popular magazine. But what makes it so unique and convenient is the way it caters to all income levels. Also on the program, the subject of disaster relief for farmers. All too often, it's a lengthy process, a problem Congressman David Scott hopes to change sooner rather than later. We'll tell you about the recent hearing and what one Georgia farmer said in response to the efficacy of the farm safety net. And then later, no, that is not Godzilla's offspring. It's actually the result of irresponsible pet ownership. How Georgia DNR is teaming up with both UGA and Georgia Southern in hopes of getting rid of them, and why they pose a threat to agriculture. These stories and so much more start right now on the Farm Monitor. Located in the heart of Atlanta, Grant Park is home to what is widely considered one of the best community farmers markets in the state. It's a reputation that is well deserved, as visitors have continued to pour in for a variety of locally produced goods from all over the state. Damon Jones now with more on this one-stop shopping experience.
Every Sunday, cars will line up for blocks in order to shop for the freshest meats and produce, while also enjoying food from one of the numerous pop-up restaurants. This is the Grant Park Farmers Market, an operation that has been drawing in visitors from all over Atlanta for years.
It's really fun. It's a great community of people. Yeah, we've got some really loyal customers that come every week and are really committed to eating locally, and we always would love more. Yeah, it's a good time. And you can always come, you can get breakfast, you can get coffee and walk around while you pick out your produce and your meat and your bread.
What makes this market so unique is the wide array of vendors that range from ice cream to flowers and, of course, plenty of fruits and vegetables. As for the benefit of purchasing local, it's twofold.
There's a lot of advantages. For one, that money stays back in the local economy instead of going to a larger corporation. It's also better for the environment because it didn't travel thousands of miles to get here. And it also just tastes better. I mean, if you've tried a tomato from the farmer's market, it tastes so much more flavorful than when you buy it at the grocery store. It's a way to support our local agriculture and our local farms. Farming is so important and it's really hard. And so having it where a lot of people can access that food helps the people to be able to eat more healthy food, and it also helps the farms to make money.
This location is especially beneficial to those who might not otherwise have access to fresh produce. And for that reason, this market participates in a program that maximizes every dollar from those in need.
One program that we're really proud of is our Double Up SNAP program. So if people use food stamps, they can come here and swipe their card, and we match dollar for dollar up to $100. So they swipe for $50 and then they receive another $50 in fruits and vegetables that they can spend at the market. And so that's super important because we're in a space that a lot of people can access, and they can take advantage of that program, and in turn it helps support the farms.
It's not just some of the best locally produced goods visitors receive on their visit, but also an education. With so many producers from all different walks of life to speak with, they receive an appreciation for just how much work goes into farming.
Well, I think it helps with this disconnect that we have when it comes to how our food is produced. Oftentimes people don't realize what types of food grow in the region that they live in, how those foods grow. And so I think it helps to bridge that gap. When you know your farmer, you learn more about what affects their growing season, what they can grow. Yeah, I think it just helps to make these connections and to learn more about agriculture and how things grow.
Reporting from DeKalb County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
In other ag news, Georgia farmer Wes Shannon testifying before members of the House Ag Committee regarding a farm safety net for disaster assistance. Afterward, we caught up with Shannon, who explained what he hoped the hearing would accomplish and why a safety net for disasters is so important, not only for farmers, but for farming communities in general.
A strong farm in a community just holds up that community. It's the backbone. The money goes from the farm and buys tires at a local tire store, or parts at a local parts store, or groceries from the local grocery store. The farm supports the small businesses in these communities, and that's what keeps Georgia great.
Well, let's be honest. The key to operating a successful business is listening to what customers want. That's exactly what the owners of Sunrise Farms did a few years ago when they decided to add a U-pick option to their blackberry farm. As John Holcomb reports, it turned out to be a very wise decision.
Welcome to Sunrise Farms, a small U-pick blackberry operation in Lawrence County that has rows and rows of beautiful blackberries for people to enjoy. The farm was originally just used for commercial berries, but after some persuading from the public, was opened up for U-pick. And right now, their season is in full swing.
This is our third year doing the U-pick. We were initially doing this just commercially for grocery stores, and we had so many people around town ask about coming out and picking. We decided to do a U-pick field as well for the public. We've got 17 acres, 3 of which are U-pick. There's 3 different varieties on this farm currently producing. And historically, we start at the very end of May and end the first week of July.
Since they started growing berries, they have expanded their operation and now grow 3 different varieties of blackberries, each one growing and tasting a little different than the other.
Ouachita is probably our favorite. It's the predominant variety on this U-pick field, and it's a really easy variety to grow. It does great in Georgia and has a good taste, and everybody seems to really like it. The Primark Traveler being an earlier variety that tastes more like a traditional wild blackberry, and we planted it because it comes in earlier so we can start the U-pick before the Ouachita are actually ready.
And just like with every other commodity grown in the state, growing blackberries comes with its own set of challenges.
There's a pretty good bit of labor involved in it. All these canes you see out here have to be hand tied up. All the fruit is obviously hand picked. At the end of the growing season, everything that y'all see out here that has fruit has to be cut out and pulled out, and then the canes for next year tied back up. Challenges growing them would be labor and weather. If you get excessive amounts of rain, the fruit ends up swelling up and getting too soft, and you can't sell it.
One thing that hasn't been a challenge the past 2 seasons is finding people that want berries. Thanks to COVID, their business never slacked off, as their farm gave people a safe option to get out and pick fresh berries with the family. And thankfully, that trend has continued this season.
We were actually surprisingly busy because everybody could stay, way more than 6 feet apart out here. And I think most of it was probably due to the fact that everybody had been, staying at their house, and on the weekends and stuff, they wanted to get out and actually do something. So we had a safe, fun activity that they could do here locally. This year, it seems to be, just as busy as it was last year. And again, I think, people are still scared with COVID going to, places that are like super crowded or in tight spaces. And again, this is a fun, safe activity that you can get out and do and, not have to worry about being, within 6 foot of anybody else.
Reporting in Dublin for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
After the break, a reptilian invasive species and its potential impact on Georgia agriculture. An expert weighs in on the subject when the Farm Monitor continues. Speaking of invasives, UGA Extension, Georgia DNR, and Georgia Southern University need your help in finding and eliminating these prehistoric-looking things from the wild in southeast Georgia. That, my friends, is a tegu lizard, and they are a serious threat to the state's ecosystem. It's a story we first brought you as a Ranger Nick segment back in 2019. Dr. Lance McBrayer, a Georgia Southern professor, is at the forefront of a program that aims to eradicate the problem. I recently spoke to him about the threats tegus pose and how they became a problem in the first place. Well, Dr. McBrayer, first off, thanks for joining us. I have had, I don't really want to call it a privilege, but I was able to see these things up close and personal a couple of years ago. And for the people who have never seen these aren't your little small green lizards that you see climbing up rain spouts. These things are huge, huge. How did they make their way to Georgia in the first place, Dr. McBrayer?
So we believe they're being introduced on accident, we assume, via the pet trade. So tegus became very popular in the pet trade over the last 20 years or so. They can be trained to be pretty good pets, but like any pet, you know, sometimes they get away or they escape. And sometimes people let them go when they no longer want them or when they move or their housing conditions change. And so the route of introduction is most certainly through releases and things like that. You know, it's hard to 100% verify that, but we don't have any documentation or any data that suggests that they are migrating from Florida into Georgia. There are unique instances here and there of where they're escaping or being released by someone.
And I know when we did the story a couple of years ago, they were a major nuisance then. Has it increased that nuisance factor? Has it gotten bigger in the past 2 years?
The problem with tegus is that they're large and they're bright and they're difficult to capture. And so it's very hard to assess what kind of effects that they are having and then the intensity of those effects. So the concern is that they would, number one, eat the young and the eggs of our native wildlife. And things of biggest concern for this animal would be things like quail or other ground nesting birds like turkeys. And then any of our threatened or endangered species like gopher tortoises or indigo snakes that also lay eggs in the ground. And a tegu could easily find them and dig them up and eat them or eat the young once they hatch. And so we know from Florida that they do eat gopher tortoise eggs and the juveniles. So that has been documented. The animals that we've captured and look at their diets, they are eating kind of a little bit of everything. You know, we found a strawberry in one, blackberry, to cricket frogs and other, you know, small kinds of bugs and vertebrates that live in the leaf litter or, you know, in the soil.
Yeah, and that was, I was going to ask you that as well. You know, given our audience, the ag audience, how big of a threat and, you know, how concerned should row crop farmers be, or really just anybody in agriculture in general?
So the biggest concern, number one, is they could introduce or carry diseases that could then have secondary effects on row crops or on our wildlife. In Florida, they're known to frequent row crop areas. They raise a lot of squash and zucchinis in the area. Their tegus are a big problem in Florida, and they regularly eat zucchini. And so there is certainly that concern, but we don't have any farmers that have yet documented to us that they're disturbing their crops or eating, you know, digging up and eating peanuts or anything like that. But we just don't know what those effects might be. So we're hoping to nip the problem in the bud before we have any effects.
Yeah, the last thing these things need is more protein, you know,
That's right.
to get any bigger. And what about their aggressiveness towards humans? Are they aggressive towards humans? Do they try to stay away from them?
Generally, they'll stay away from humans, but they're not shy of humans. So they will regularly visit someone's house or backyard. They would certainly like eat the cat food or dog food on the porch, or if you have a chicken coop or livestock where you're feeding them and there's feed out on the ground, they would visit that and either eat the food or eat mice or other rodents or things that might be visiting food that's left out like that. So they are not a danger to humans. If you don't try and capture the animal and pick it up or anything, they're not going to hurt you. They're going to keep their distance. But, you know, if you charge out at one, it's either going to run away or it's going to bluff and stand its ground. And if you do capture it by hand, they have very powerful jaws, sharp teeth, big claws, and they'll whip you with their tails. So don't recommend that anybody try and, run out and grab one, crocodile hunter style. It's much better to deal with the animal in another way. It's much safer.
Which brings me up to my next question. If a person should see one, do they take matters into their own hands? Maybe through some kind of firearm method? I don't know. A lot of farmers, they like their firearms, or should they just call a local trapper?
No, the invasive species like this are not protected by any laws, and there's no take limits or anything like that. So residents are certainly welcome to shoot the animal in a safe and humane way. You can trap the animal, just make sure you're obeying all the trapping laws and things like that. So that's a perfectly acceptable way to get rid of them. We do ask that people would report them, even if they do, run over one with their car or they shoot it or whatever. Still report that animal so that we and the Georgia DNR can track where these animals are being observed, and that we're being able to remove them, because that's the whole effort, is to try and eradicate them. So having that information is what is really, really helpful for us.
And what's the best way to contact? Just go to DNR website, I'm assuming? Yeah,
you can go to the DNR website and then just search for invasive species. And the website is actually gainvasives.org. And so if they go to gainvasives.org, that'll take them right there, and tegus are featured on that page, and then they can make a report.
All right. Well, Dr. McBrayer, we do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for updating us with this issue. Hopefully they won't become a bigger issue in the future.
I absolutely agree. And I really appreciate the ag community and Georgia Extension for helping us get the word out to the ag community. They're out on the land all the time, so they're a huge help to us, and appreciate you doing the interview and all the participants that are helping us out now. Thank you very much.
Up next, the Georgia Agribusiness Council. What is it? Who all does it benefit? And more importantly, how much of an impact can it have on the state's economy?
Farmers are the ultimate environmentalists. We know that this is our base. The land is everything. Without the land, you don't need the fertilizer, the seed, the equipment, any of that kind of stuff. So the land is what's there. Sustainability to me is very important. We have in our mission statement that one of the things we want to do is to make our decisions based on sustainability rather than profits. To make it work, we have tried several different things. Side dressing stops the nutrients from getting into the groundwater, helps prevent them from getting into the groundwater. We have a machine that was already doing that. We spent $300,000 so that we could keep those nutrients out of the water. What technology has done for sustainability in our operation is to allow us to do a much better job of applying. We are way more efficient, there's less waste, and there's not as much over-application, those sorts of things. It keeps it, just do a more precision job, using less to get more. We're using way less fuel than the older tractors, no question about that. The energy is going down, down, down compared to what it used to be. Even the corn dryers are becoming more efficient. Every time you turn around, there's some way that we're saving fuel for sure, and also fertilizer. We're using less fertilizer per bushel than we ever have in our whole history of farming. And part of that is some of what we get out of the cover crops and the other things that we've grown. But more than that, it's about application, time of application, and precision application. Over time, I have seen sustainability become a bigger and bigger part of our operation and a lot of operations. I think it is job number one, and it's going to be important, and I do believe that it is consumer driven, and that's important. They are our customers.
Finally this week, as we all know, agriculture has a multi-billion-dollar impact on the state of Georgia, and it's only fitting that people and groups work together to keep it successful. Case in point, the Georgia Agribusiness Council. Our John Holcomb sat down with Council President Will Bentley to learn more about the organization and what all they focus on to make sure agribusiness continues to thrive.
Agriculture is huge here in the state of Georgia, and without it, the state wouldn't be anything like it is today, which is why it's so important that people and organizations fight for its success every single day.
We represent all segments of agriculture, from farms to manufacturers to ag chem and fertilizer groups and ginners and shellers and research universities and then also other commodity groups. So we're kind of an umbrella organization for everyone involved in the business of agriculture. And our goal really is to advance agriculture across the board, whether that's in economic development, environmental stewardship, or through legislative representation. We do a lot of different things, and every day we get up just to fight for agribusiness and those that are involved in the business of agriculture.
The importance of fighting for agribusiness can't be overstated, especially when you look at how important ag is to the state.
There's 1 in 7 jobs in this state are involved in agribusiness, so that's a huge deal. We think it's extremely important for a state to be able to provide food and fiber for its citizens, and Georgia can do that. We can feed our entire population, but then we can also have excess that can go around the country and even around the world. And that's just extremely important for a state, and Georgia's blessed to have the natural resources and the farmers and the agribusinesses that it takes to be able to do that.
They work for ag in a number of different ways, but always with the focus on making sure agribusiness remains competitive and has a level playing field.
We play a huge role in trying to make sure that all of our agribusinesses and all of our farms have what they need to be successful. And that's something that goes on behind the scenes a lot of times. I mean, obviously, the farms and the agribusinesses that are out there every day, they play the most important role. But we have a behind-the-scenes role to make sure that the environment for them is good and they're able to be competitive with not only our competitors in other states, but also we're seeing a lot of competition from other countries around the world where they don't have the same regulations or the same laws that we do. So we have to make sure that we're always focusing on keeping Georgia agriculture competitive so that our farmers can be successful and our agribusinesses can support those farms now and in the future.
One of the biggest areas they work in is policy, which entails working at the Capitol during session to make sure policy doesn't hinder agribusiness.
Every year we're always looking for legislation that it kind of advances private property rights, helps out the transportation system in Georgia. You know, we need a robust transportation system to make sure that all the products get moved from the farm to the anything in between and into restaurants and onto the clothing for folks in the state, so that's always important. Taxes are always something that's important to us, but really just making sure that our ag sector you know, is not over-regulated. There's sensible regulations, we have sensible tax laws, and then we provide the resources that the state has to make sure that research and other things are done to keep our farmers competitive.
Reporting in Bibb County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, Will, thanks so much. Hey, before we send you on your way, a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, incredible recipes, and what's happening all across the state on Georgia farms, be sure to check out our social media platforms, including farm-monitor.com. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of agriculture and with us here at the show. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor. As always, have a great week.